Hello there. Is that Carl McIntosh?
Yes.
Hi, it's DJ Gloss from Sound Fusion Radio. Have I caught you at a convenient time?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So how are you today?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Very well indeed. Not a problem at all.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okie dokie. Well, the first question was, originally formed in 1980, how did the formation come about and how did you all meet up?
Oh, okay. Well, the Loose Ends thing started with Steve. I think he was putting the band together, having just come out of university. He was at the Guildhall School of Music and he did well. So I think he was looking for his next venture, which was to have his own band. And I think at a party he had met a girl who knew someone who could sing. I think he was just trying to chat the girl up, actually. But in the end, he ended up meeting Jane, who could sing. And they started to vibe together. They started chatting, and then next thing you knew, they had a situation where I think he could play piano, and she just sort of sing along. I mean, at that point, she wasn't so much of a songwriter or a proper singer, but she could sing. She had a tone, lovely tone.
Wonderful.
And then they needed a band, so they put a band together around the two of them. And then I got a phone call. I was with Paul Hardcastle at the time, actually. We used to have a band, First Light.
First Light, I remember First Light very well. Yeah.
Yeah, and we all used to rehearse in the same place. My band was Mint Condition. Not the Mint Condition, but that was the name of my band. It was at the time, the London version, if you like.
Yes, yeah.
So he had so we were rehearsing in the little basement in Stockwell, and my mate said to me, like, my mate's just give me a phone call. He said there's a band around the corner in Brixton. They need a bass player. His name was Glenn Thomas, and he's a percussionist. And he said they need a percussionist and a bass player. That was it. So we went down there after the rehearsals, and it was a man, Sky, this incredible place. He had a flat, gutted out into a studio, a rehearsal studio, right in the middle, mid-terrace, block of flats.
Wonderful.
Yeah, carpets on the wall and everything, so totally soundproof. It was like a sauna. But, this is where we met up, and they had a band, all pretty people and stuff, and really, like, everyone looked like they came out of Vogue, But no one really could sing or play properly. It was just Steve, and Jane didn't really say that much, but I could tell that it was just mainly those two. They had the talent. And everyone else, the next time I went there, they'd left. They had Steve had got rid of everyone else, and it was just me, him, and her.
Wow, that's amazing. That's brilliant. So you were signed to Virgin Records in 1981. You were called Loose End originally, and then you changed to Loose Ends. Just that little tiny change in 1983. What made that slight change come about?
Yeah, Steve and Jane were Loose End.
Right.
And when I joined, just as we got signed to Virgin, Pete Waterman has a production company called Loose End Productions.
Yes.
But we didn't know that at the time, so we was in the office and, we came up with an idea of just putting the S on the end. So we put the S on the end and that worked. Yeah. I can't remember who actually said that, but I know one of us said something silly like, well, why don't we just say, as kids, you do that. You sort of find the ways of getting around the authorities. And we sort of said, well, just put an S on the end then. And then to our surprise, the management went, yeah, I think that might actually work. And that was the end of that. It was Loose Ends.
Absolutely brilliant. I love it. And that's the only, only by talking to you would we find that out, and that's fantastic. So I love that stuff. So Hanging on the String was your biggest single, which reached 13 in the UK, but made #1 in the US. I mean, you were pretty big stateside, weren't you? What do you think that was? How do you think that was?
It's a fluke, I think. And, it was a mad one because it does have a negative side to that, because we were, I mean, the criteria for a British band assigned to a major record label is to make pop records, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Let's face it. And I think what we did, we somehow got away with making niche soul, and even though it wasn't really a pop over here, it managed to, it didn't cross over, I wouldn't go that far, but it sort of had a lot of success in that same niche field, but in a different country in a much bigger way. So it kind of spoiled us a little bit. But we didn't really have the right to be spoiled because we weren't really making pop records. Wow. We were making soul records. But, and soul records don't really work. If you look at the history of it, it doesn't really work. It's not really a solid, surefire winner of a genre to go with if you're going to do pop music. But we were able to get around it by having success in America. So in a kind of a way, it was good, but what happened in America was just a total fluke. I just think they got us, you know, they understood what we were doing, but they didn't just get us. It was as if it was a crazy thing, because they was worshipping, you know, there's people out there that even at the airports, it was like, oh my God, you know, they saw us like the outsiders, you know, the ones we don't know nothing about, and you know, there's a sense of mystery, I think, to it being British and it not coming from their local town or their local school, or this is like something that comes from. It may as well have come from Iceland, you know. It was just so out of the whole circle of funk and soul that they had been used to. And I think we actually put music together a little different. And when I use,
no problem.
when I use American musicians and we're rehearsing together, often after we've given them the music to learn, and I hear their interpretation of what is on the music, I can tell that they would normally have done soul differently to us.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know, their interpretation is totally different. And so you can tell from that when they hear us put together our version, it is definitely surprising. I guess we're giving them chord progressions and beats and bass lines that it's not familiar to them, but it works. And so that makes it kind of new to them, I guess.
I think that's great. I think that's lovely.
It's a hard thing to explain because, you know, we have this Caribbean thing going on as well, undercurrently in a lot of British music.
Yeah.
You know, all genres, you know, because it's in the culture.
Absolutely.
And I just think that when we do stuff, like when I heard, that I was out there and I heard the Spice Girls when they broke, and the Spice Girls sound absolutely brilliant on American radio. It's almost like the best thing that you're going to hear. I mean, when their songs came on the radio, I was like, wow, who's this? Yeah. And then there was like, oh, this is Spice Girls. And I was like, wow, it does sound brilliant. It's that mixture of pop and, you know, the little rhythms underneath, the way they come together in British music. It's not the same way in American music, because they have a derivative style of church, pop, R&B, you know, their version of it anyway.
Yeah.
And it's different to ours. So I guess they really looked at what we were doing as a fresh thing, you know. The music was different to them.
As if you wanted to call it a fluke, it was an amazingly good fluke, and loose ends, you know, as far as the circles that I've always DJ'd in, I've always been a must-have, you know, and can't wait to get you on the deck, especially when your track still came in cellophane. Wow. And you know, we're on little black discs back in them days. Couldn't wait to play you, you know, just get your new tracks down to wherever you're playing that night and get them on the decks.
Wow, hearing that, because at the time it was a struggle, because the music, once you've made it, it's like it doesn't go straight to the punters. It goes through a process of A&R people, and you know, people looking at the proper single, or you know, songs which should be added to the album, songs which should be left off, mixes, And all of that, once you get through that process, you're a little bit sort of rinsed out yourself. Do you know what I mean? You just feel like you're not sure which one is going to work, because every single day you've had probably a different team of people saying something different.
Yeah.
And then in the end, when it does get to the punter, and the punter's like, oh yeah, that was wicked, that was excellent, you just think, wow, if only you knew.
If only they had any idea of what the process was. Yeah, exactly. Wow.
Yeah, it's a long process, but I think, nowadays it's a little bit better, because we've got a lot of technology at our fingertips, and a lot of work can be done independently, before you even get to the label.
Wow, that's amazing. You did some work with Five Star at one stage. You did some writing for them, and also you played quite a lot of their backing track on their final releases, as their band, didn't you? How did that relationship come about?
I think what happened was, once we started having notoriety and little success, people start to find you. People start looking for that sound, and this started happening, I think, around about Hanging on a String. When Hanging on a String broke, a lot of work was coming to us through Virgin. People just sort of saying, look, I'd like to work with these guys, and but most of all, we never worked with anyone. Sorry, we never worked with anyone that tried to contact us in that way. We tried to keep the sound really sort of like an exclusive thing, really. But Nick Martinelli got contacted by, I think it was Buster Pearson, who was the father of the kids there, Five Star.
Yeah.
So he convinced us that we should all get together on this project and make it special. And then, we kind of thought, even then, we didn't like the songs. But then one of our family members got drawn into that project. And he wrote Let Me Be the One. And Ian Foster, his name is. Ian Foster was an artist on MCA. And he got brought into the project, and then it became something like, if Nicky's involved and Ian's involved, well, we've got to get involved then. So we got involved, and we did, I think it was about 3 or 4 cuts. I know Let Me Be the One and All Fall Down, they were among them, and we had fun. It was a funny session. It was amazing working with Buster. He's a character.
Wonderful. Absolutely great.
He's a character.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's just working with, he just had those kids really strict, and I remember it was a similar band to the Jackson 5 at the time.
Yeah, I remember a lot of people comparing them.
Yeah, for real, and they were just as disciplined. It was almost a mirror sort of what was happening with Jackson 5. It's almost as if they read the book and thought, this is how you do it,
The UK J5, yeah.
But it wasn't. It was a totally organic thing. He just had his kids, and he just wanted to make them into stars, and he told them, this is how you got to do it, and they did exactly what he said, and then they became stars.
It's amazing, isn't it? What a recipe.
I don't know what happened in the end, but I don't think he's alive now, but... may he rest in peace. I think I have heard that he died a few years back. But for a minute there, that band, I think when we saw that band do their live PAs at the Lyceum, we were very impressed. I remember Erskine Thompson was with us, and he looked up and he said, you know what that is, isn't it? I said, what's that? He said, Trouble.
I like it.
Because we were just getting good at our PAs and just starting to get the audiences, and it took a long time of going up north, Scotland, really dry audiences. If they don't know you, you can have a hard time. Well, just as we were getting it together, they came along, and gosh, they came out all in the same uniform, and it was incredible. It was, they had this great sort of outfit on with the 5 on it, and they came out like Janet Jackson's Nation, whatever it is. They came out like an army, and they were brilliant. And we were like, whoa, who is that? And
Fantastic.
I didn't say much more. But at the end of it, I think Erskine took me aside and he was like, "You know what that is, don't you?" I said, "What?" He said, "That's Trouble." And then the next thing, I told Erskine, "I think that band that you said is Trouble. I think we're going to work with them." He went, "You mug. You're a mug if you do that. You might as well just give them your sound. You might as well just give up." You know what I mean? But I mean, he's not around now, Erskine. God rest his soul. But
Yes.
in a sense, what he said, they did overtake us. You know, they went on to do bigger things than us. You know, but I think he was just protecting us. You know.
Oh, there you go. He's looking out for you. But I
Yeah.
mean, loose ends. I mean, we're still playing you now. I mean, we came to see you, with the Fatback Band earlier in the year at the O2. People were still, coming out to see loose ends, and that's the thing, isn't it? You know, that's what it is. I had a personal question for you, Carl, if that's okay. And this was, who were your favourite groups when you were a kid?
Say again?
Who were your favourite groups when you were a kid?
Gosh, that question. As a group, let me see now.
Or artists, doesn't matter.
Because you know what it is? It's not really something that you could put down to one person. It was like...
No, I'd have trouble if somebody asked me that, actually.
It's like asking someone, who's your favourite girl?
Yeah.
It's like, well, I do like this one, but I also like that one. I think, as a whole, I like something about a lot of people, and I think I could probably round it off in about 10 or 25 different artists that have something that I like about them. But they've also probably got other bits that I probably wouldn't want if it was my band. But I see a lot in them, like bands like the KGs, which is kind of Cool and the Gang's sister band, isn't it, or brother band. Bands like Cool and the Gang, Brass Construction, which are gangs. These bands were actually not the actual band themselves, but the actual music style that they're doing.
Yeah.
And moving on, all that stuff. Right? The actual gangs of New York used to actually have like music that they used to do, and they used to do that type of gang sort of funk thing going on and play just like that. So, I mean, I love that side of it, that whole Brass Construction side of the band, and Earth, Wind and Fire. And then it started to get a bit jazzy with me, whereas I started to hear a lot of jazz at a young age. I think before I got into bands, I was hearing Buddy Rich. I think was probably the first thing I heard, the drum. Buddy Rich meets Dream Cooper. I remember that's probably the first jazz album that I probably keyed in on. And then after that, I started to get into some Miles Davis a little bit. And then I didn't really get into much jazz again. I think I just got to sort of an age where it was like, I went to America, and then I was 16, and I remember hearing Pat Metheny, and he's got this tune called San Lorenzo.
I know it, yeah.
And that song, they played it every night, and after a while I was addicted. It was like a drug to me. I had to listen to that song. I didn't know what the song was called until about 2 years ago, which is kind of weird, but it did influence me. That and the beginning of Boogie Nights.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what happened then...
Because that walks very nicely, doesn't it, at the beginning of Boogie Nights?
Yeah.
A lovely kind of bass walk to it. And
Yeah, and then I started to like that sort of euphoric jazz, sort of funky sort of sound. I loved Incognito.
Yeah.
When they first started out, and Bluey was working with Paul Williams, and it was really raw. I loved that then. And then after a while, it got a little bit more sort of... commercialized, which it needed to be because it has to grow. We've got to, put that in the domestic household. That music's good, but the way it would never have got there. It was too niche. But I loved it when it was like that. And back in the day, it was almost like you didn't sell out your music. You didn't want to go pop, which is why Loose Ends was kind of fortunate, because really we didn't want to go pop. We didn't want to be a pop band. That was naff. If you was a pop band, you was whack.
Well, so many others did. That was the thing, didn't they? And I won't name any names, but so many other good, what you might call Brit funk bands, kind of wandered around a little bit, if you know what I mean. So
yeah, for real. I mean, that was the thing, but now it's the industry way that you are supposed to be going pop, and pop is the king, you know. And if you're not making pop records, you're not really making records. So, you know, it's a different mentality when we were around. So when we didn't have the pop success in England, and then we got it in America, it was a little bit like, aha! It was a aha moment. You know what I mean? And we almost, it was like us, we was kind of looking at the record company like, told you. Because they, you know, didn't really, you know, when it came to promoting our records, I have to say, you know, they stuck us in a Vauxhall Cavalier and just sent us up the motorway reversing Thompsons. That was it, mate. There weren't no gigs or no, you know, fancy presentation, or what they call the showcase, you know, internal press-only shows. None of that stuff going on, mate.
Just choked you in a Vauxhall. Well, there you go. Oh, dear. So,
none of that stuff. You know, we just had to, like, kind of just get on the road, you know, and just do PAs as well. So you didn't know what you was going to walk into. But in a funny kind of way, by the time the song started to get to hits and we got to America, all those little seedy little clubs that we played in, it all made sense.
Yeah.
You know, all the booze that we got and all the beer that we got thrown all over us, and all the little fights that nearly happened as soon as some girl sort of called out to you, her boyfriend, you know. I've had a few swigs and stuff in clubs, you know, where guys have had too much to drink up in Sheffield and stuff. Every single moment when we had to hit records, suddenly it all made sense, because now we could work an audience. And, you know, I remember when we got to New York and we got to the Red Parrot, and we was in a traffic jam, and we was going to be late for the gig, and we had to get out. It was about 2 blocks of parked traffic. And we got out the car, and we just said, look, we'll just walk it. And we paid the cab driver and just jumped out the cab. And straight away, it was like, there they are! we just had to take off. I mean, it was crazy.
Running 2 blocks to get away from the crowd.
2 blocks, really, but it was like someone just yelled out, there they are! And that was it, man. People coming out there, cars. It was like, we realized that roadblock was because of our gig. You know, that there was so much people trying to go to see this band. It was crazy. But then when we got on stage, I think we was on just before Curtis Blow.
Wow.
And Curtis Blow, gosh, he was brilliant. But all the acts that were on that gig, Dougie Fresh, Slick Rick was there. It was the 80s, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, dear.
But we was, you know, we kicked it because we had done all them working man's clubs and all them, you know, Sheffield places and up in Scotland. So we knew what it was like not to have someone, you know, to do a whole set and people just sort of, you know, tell you you're rubbish and stuff. Mm. So we went there, we was real armed up for that.
Sounds great. So you smashed it, and that's what it was all about. Fantastic.
Yeah, I think we got to the point there where we realised, wow, all of that experience. Because if you just get out there and just start doing festivals and just start doing big shows, and you never know what it's like to work a small, intimate audience, which is the hardest. Mm. You know, if you've got like 100, maybe 150 people, that's a hard audience to work, because they are looking right at you. You know, and it's those audiences that are the ones you have to come up on, and cut your teeth on, really. Because, you know, if you get it wrong, or if you lose your confidence once you're a big star, and it does happen sometimes, you don't really know where to start.
Can understand. Yeah.
If you haven't got that experience, you just can't give an artist that experience. But I know Janie's out there at the moment. She's doing them again. All right, then. So, you got any more questions there?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've got whatever you got time for, really. I mean, when I walked in on my son playing Grand Theft Auto to Hanging on a String playing in the background, I mean, that was amazing. I mean, how did you feel about that?
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, the Grand Theft Auto thing is kind of nuts. You know, I've got this one of my sons. He's a friend of I think the guy's name's Jordan. I don't know if you know about this band called Last Night in Paris.
It's not one I'm familiar with, but
yeah, brand new band, and the guy.
Chuck us some MP3s. We'll play them.
The guy in that band, he said to my son, he's like, "Is your dad the dude with the from GTA?" He calls me the dude from GTA.
It works. That's okay. That's good. Yeah, he's the.
So my son's got notoriety. You know what I mean? His dad's the dude from GTA.
That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Hey, listen, I've got to get back in this session, yeah?
That's
So,
Carl,
wicked.
I know you're a very busy man, and I thank you so much for your time. It's been great speaking to you.
All right, then.
And
so we'll catch up. Hopefully it'll all work out nice, and if you need anything, just let me know.
That's brilliant. Well, I think we've got plenty of stuff at the moment, but if you've got anything that you're releasing or anything you want us to sort of get behind or anything coming up, just give us a shout. No problem.
Yeah, because at the moment, I'm writing new stuff. Material for my album is coming out, and so hopefully, I mean, I don't want to go into it too tough until it's all done, and I'll need the publicity then probably. So
give us a shout.
I'll leave it till later.
No problem at all, Carl. It's been a pleasure, and you have a great evening. Hope your session goes well, and
all right, nice
we'll speak again sometime. You take care.
All right, bye.
Have a great day. Cheers now. Bye. Bye.